Well, hi, we are here with Steve Klinger. He and his wife Sue have been members at our church for about 5 years now. And Steve serves on our board of trustees. He's very active in our church, and he has a passion for a ministry that we want to hear a little bit more about today. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about Souls for Jesus, how it started, how you got involved, just kind of the journey to where we are today.
Sure. So Souls for Jesus was started in Milwaukee by Diane Studer, and she had been serving on a council in Africa, was over there in the middle of a prayer circle and just felt the Holy Spirit saying, look at their feet, look at their feet. And she noticed that most of the village people had no shoes, and she started this ministry of collecting shoes and initially taking them with her on an airplane to Africa. The ministry grew to where she could no longer take the shoes on an airplane, and she reached out to one of our nonprofit customers asking, how do I ship containers? And that's how we were introduced about 10 years ago.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So how many shoes have you guys been able to ship over these 10 years?
Yeah, so the first year I think they shipped 4 20-foot by 8-foot by 8-foot containers, and they get about 7,000 pairs of shoes in every container. The ministry has grown to where we're doing anywhere from 10 to 14 containers, so that's 65,000 to 70,000 pair of shoes every year that we're shipping over. And they partner with Every Home for Christ Ministries, who is all on the ground everywhere in Africa. And so they're the ones who pinpoint where the next area should be and which village really needs the shoes and whether they need more adults or children's shoes.
Yeah, really cool. So shoes start out in homes. They come to the boxes at the the distribution boxes that you have in different places across the state, and then you collect them. You send them up to Milwaukee. They process them, and then they send them over to Africa. What does it look like once they arrive in Africa? What's the process? How does it all work from there?
So they, as I mentioned, they partner with EHC, who has local ministers who have been working in that village. And the container shows up, they open the doors, they have volunteers handing the cartons down. It's a very cool ministry because they basically mimic what Jesus did in washing the feet. People line up, they wash their feet, and some of these people have probably never had their feet washed. Wow. They're given not only a pair of shoes, but they're given some of the scriptures in their native language, Swahili or whatever that might be. And the impact's incredible. It's meeting a basic need. Many of these people live in rural villages where to work or to go to school, they have to walk through the bush. The schools won't let the kids in if they don't have shoes. There's a lot of diseases associated with open wounds on the feet. And so the shoes fill multiple purposes, but there's always the question by the receivers, why? Why would somebody send me their shoes? That opens the door, as you'll see in some later videos from some of the pastors over there, it opens the door to talk about the love of Jesus.
Wow, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. So, I don't know, have you been able to go over to Africa and be a part of the distribution at all?
I have not. I've been invited.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to go the one time I was invited, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we're getting ready to launch a drive here, collecting shoes, just a massive scale. But we collect all year round, just smaller scale. But what is it that you hope to see happen in this next month as we really push for Souls for Jesus and for shoes to come in? What would be your goal? What would be just blowing it out of the park in your eyes?
Sure. So my business, I gather shoes from multiple locations, fitness centers, churches all throughout central Indiana. When we have enough to fill a big pallet, we ship them up to Milwaukee. Yeah. And that happens about every 4 to 6 weeks. My goal would be during the month of May that we have 3 or 4 of these pallets go, that Crossroads just blows the door off with donations, with shoes. So it's really easy. The other thing I love about this ministry, of course, your flip-flops and your furry Ugg boots are not going to make their way to Africa, but they don't like to discourage any donation. And so Souls for Jesus has partnered with a couple of women's shelters, homeless shelters in the Milwaukee area. And if they're heavy boots, knee-high boots, flip-flops that won't go to Africa, they make sure they get used up there. But, you bring your shoes in. If you have the time, put a rubber band around each pair, drop them in the box. And then if people feel so motivated over and above their church giving, want to donate, suggestion is $1 a pair. That can be written to Souls for Jesus or given to the church with a Souls for Jesus note.
Yeah. So this is incredible. I'm excited for the drive this year because I think it's going to be the biggest one we've done yet. And I think it's just going to grow as people become more aware of what Souls for Jesus is, how they work, and how, like you said, they don't waste anything that you donate. That's incredible. Because I imagine people are probably thinking, do they send high heel stilettos over to Africa? No, they don't.
They don't.
But they won't waste it. They'll still use it. But how has this ministry impacted you, your life, Sue's life? Like, how has it transformed you guys just being a part of something so impactful?
It really has. It's a great question because they started out as a client. I do international shipping, and they were introduced to me. And in that first year, they invited me to their annual luncheon fundraiser. So Sue and I went up and went to this thing, and we heard Diane's testimony and how she was called to do this ministry. We were absolutely blown away. Plus meeting the various volunteers that help with the ministry and seeing how well it's organized. I just became passionate about it. I came back at the time and started a collection in my local church. And then after a couple of years of doing that, Diane asked me, she has state representatives in various states in the Midwest, asked me if I would be her state of Indiana representative, just to help people with questions about the ministry, point them to resources. And I said, absolutely, I will. And so since that time, I've kind of actively or proactively gone out to churches as I see them, ask them if they'd let me put a box in. And then I found that fitness centers are a great place because athletes are always changing shoes, but the shoes still had a lot of life left in them for somebody in Africa.
Right. So this ministry has kind of become consuming, like all consuming for you. It's basically just your life now.
It's a joy to do.
Yeah.
I look forward in retirement, which is coming soon, to being even more active and branching out of just, right now I'm within a 20-mile radius of home, and I'll plan on going out a little further to hopefully grow it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for sitting down with me and talking about this because while we've had Souls for Jesus boxes in our church for a while now, I just think it's awesome to hear people share the ministries that they're personally involved in and how our church can be a part of that. And it's just a small piece of the big puzzle, and it's absolutely incredible. We're just grateful for you and your wife, for your leadership in our church, and the passion that you have for people to know Jesus through shoes. Of all things.
It's the easiest ministry ever because we all have too many shoes.
Yeah. So aside from donating shoes, how can the average person get involved? Is there more that they could do? Or is the biggest need just bringing in the shoes and dropping them off?
The two biggest needs are, of course, financial. It is a nonprofit, so all of the money to pay for shipping overseas, which it costs anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 to ship a container from Milwaukee to Africa. And so that obviously donations are greatly needed, but shoes are the main thing. And then if people want to get involved beyond that, they can go to the website, soulsforjesus.org. There are various things they can do. There is this fundraiser or silent auction every year, so you could sign up online and bid on items up there if you wanted to do that to help support the ministry.
Awesome.
And if they have questions, they can just ask me.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Klinger, is there anything else that you would want people to know about Souls for Jesus, about this drive, this ministry overall? Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd say people need to know this?
Not that I can think of. The only thing is I have checked out the ministry through charitynavigator.org, and there's very little overhead. Almost all of the donations and the money go to fund shipping of shoes. So it's just a wonderful ministry, and they truly are doing God's work. And some of the testimonies in the videos are just awesome when you hear the difference it's making, because these are countries that are have a strong Muslim influence, and these pastors, as I said, find that the shoes open the door towards evangelizing for Christ.
Yeah. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, thank you for joining us today, talking about Souls for Jesus and a little bit about how you got involved and how others can get involved. And be looking for the big boxes. They're going to be all over the church in May. Bring your shoes, no matter what kind of shoes you have, bring them, drop them off, because we are making a difference across the street and this time across the world. Thank you so much.